including the U.S. Congressman Neil Dunn. He's actually my congressman, is living in Tallahassee. So, we've also got our state attorney, Larry Bassford, obviously Tommy Ford I had mentioned. We've got Gulf County Sheriff Mike Harrison, Jackson County Sheriff Donnie Edenfield, Holmes County Sheriff John Tate, Washington County Sheriff Kevin Cruz, Liberty County Sheriff Dusty Arnold, Walton County Sheriff Mike Atkinson, as well as other law enforcement leaders from across Northwest Florida. So on some of these counties, we have a number of counties in North Florida that are named after various founding fathers. And as part of America 250 is next July. So we've already begun doing things for this. So I was recently in Franklin County. We brought a statue to Ben Franklin. We put that there. We were in Jefferson County. We brought Thomas Jefferson, nice statue there right on the courthouse steps. Washington, we actually got this amazing statue of Washington from Mount Vernon. They loaned us it, and so we put it in the Florida Capitol. So if you actually walk up and you make a left, like you're going to go to the governor's office or the attorney general's office, you see this amazing statue of Washington, and we've actually gotten approval to have one of those recreated as well. So my hope is that we'll be able to drop G-Dub in Washington County at some point. Actually, Washington County would welcome that. There's other counties in Florida, they a little bit different views on some of this stuff. Not for the better, but it is what it is. So we're going to do that. And then we have a Hamilton County, which obviously is further east than here in North Florida. But, I think it was like some of these other states had mothballed these statues. We're like buying these statues at a discount. And I guess like when the Hamilton was being transferred, I think it was a little bit too hot in the truck, and so we had a little bit of issues that we're remedying there, but we're going to be able to roll out Alexander Hamilton. We're also going to be able to roll out James Madison, and then we've got, down in our southernmost county, Monroe County, with Key West and Key Largo and all that, we're going to have a Monroe statute that we're going to be bringing down there. So I just think it's important that particularly young people are able to learn about what went into the founding of this country, what are the principles that our founding fathers fought for, how is this reflected in our founding documents, whether it's the Declaration or the Constitution, which they were able to enact the following decade. These things are really, really important, and it gives us an opportunity to be able to do that. So we're definitely going to do more on that, and certainly with Washington County, we're going to work on getting that statute, and we do have some time to be able to get it done. We're also going to be doing even more to kind of get kids involved with this, so we'll have some announcements about some of the things we're going to be doing over the next 9 months or so to be able to really lean in to this great celebration. We're here today to mark another milestone in the state of Florida's support for the men and women of law enforcement. And yes, we've said from the beginning, we're a law and order state. When they were doing rioting across the country, we said that ain't flying here in Florida. When they were protesting against law enforcement and attacking law enforcement, and these politicians were doing that big charade years ago, you didn't see that here out of our office, certainly in Tallahassee. And we were very clear that we honor the people that are there, that are protecting and serving the public. And which is fine, and sometimes you got to stand up and speak truth, and you got to say the right thing at the right time. And I'm not saying that doesn't matter, but what's even more important than just the words are the deeds. And are you following through on the commitment to making sure that our communities are safe and that you have a strong culture of law and order? And I always say the folks that Florida's crime rate's at a 50-year low. I always say that, you can't obviously do that without the folks who are actually in uniform making it happen. And, we can sit there and talk all we want, but the reality is there are people that are there that deserve the credit. But at the same time, you could have the best sheriff's department, you could have the best police department, you could have the best deputies, the best police officers. If you have jailbreak policies, if you have weak on crime policies, no cash bail, letting people steal $999 like California, releasing felons. If you're doing that, I don't care how good you are at your job, you're going to be overwhelmed with the bad policies. So it really goes hand in hand. You got to have strong policies at the state level, and then you got to have good people that are there implementing those policies and making sure that they're keeping their community safe. And I mean, if you look at what we've done, we not only did we not indulge the nonsense when they were doing defund police and attacking police, we did legislation banning the defunding of police. Because the way I viewed it is like, you know, we've got a big state, you know, 67 counties, all these municipalities. You know, you could have one municipality elect 3 bozos to some city council that want to do something stupid. And, you know, we're not going to let them cut off their nose to spite their face simply because the residents would end up having to deal with the consequences of that. So we have ways to make sure that that funding continues. We also made sure that if you are engaging in any type of mob violence, looting, rioting, any of those things, do not expect to be treated like they treat you in Portland. Well, they'll slap you on the wrist, put you back on the street, let you do it again. No, in the state of Florida, if you're rioting, if you're looting, if you're engaging in mob violence, you're going to jail, and we're going to hold you accountable, and that's what you have to do. We're also concerned with harassing law enforcement as well as first responders that are in the middle of doing their jobs, especially when they're responding to a scene, if somebody is in distress. And so we made sure that we had the appropriate response to that type of harassment. You know, unfortunately, with some of the rhetoric you've seen over the years, and quite frankly, media amplifying that, they've put a target on the back of law enforcement in many parts of this country. I don't think it's been successful here because we've responded in kind, but the reality is, you know, we have to be on guard about that. And even like intentionally exposing law enforcement to things like fentanyl. You know, if you just get this fentanyl residue on you, I mean, that's a major, major risk just then and there. So we actually were one of the first states to do anything about any of that. We were able to, in the most recent budget, get major pay increases for our state law enforcement officers, particularly our Highway Patrol, as well as the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and that's increase in base pay and a 15% increase for veteran LEOs. And that's meaningful, especially when you have a period in this country. I mean, I just think back 5 or 6 years ago how much things cost versus now how much things cost. I mean, the reality is it's just tougher to do that. I mean, I'm taking my kids. I've got 3 kids in elementary school, taking them through drive-through. And it's like, get them something and like maybe a little thing for like my wife. And like all of a sudden, you know, it isn't like $20 anymore, $25. It's like twice that much. And that's just one example. You see it in everything you do now. So we want to make sure that we're able to, one, reward folks for good work, but also just recognize that that it's hard to keep up with everything that's happened. And we've done a lot of other things in that regard too, tax relief, a whole bunch of other stuff, and we're going to do, you know, property tax relief, all these things that are very important, you know, to help people make the most of their own lives. One of the things that we wanted to do, though, is make sure that in Florida people understood that if you choose the vocation of law enforcement, that is something that's a noble calling. It's something that we want to make sure that you will have support if you do that. And some of this stuff is just, we now have these exchanges with schools where kids will be able to meet people in the local sheriff's department. You go to a place like Tampa, some of these neighborhoods, they're told to not like law enforcement, they're told bad things. Well, okay, we'll go meet and go see for yourself, and then you make your own decision about what they're doing. And you know what it does? It opens their eyes. Like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Oh, wow, yeah, look. And so just even doing that, I think, has been really good. But we also wanted to make sure that we had law enforcement academy scholarship program that, because, you know, we have bright futures for higher education, which is great. And if you think about the higher education in Florida, we have the lowest in-state tuition in America. It's about $6,300 on average to go to any state university. And we also have the #1 ranked public university system in America. And we have, I think now we have FSU, UF, USF, and then FIU is now on the top. So we have 4 of the top 50 public universities in the country, and all in different parts of the state. We have others that are now in the top 100 that are moving up. And yet, you could, first of all, if you have to pay the full $6,300, you could work a part-time job to do it. But we have Bright Future scholarships. So that's 100% tuition, 75% tuition, depending on your grades and your scores. And that's really, really meaningful. We're proud of that, and I've protected that program. But we also have been stressing, you know, doing university's fine, but there's other ways you can do good vocational education things. And here with the academy, we think is important. So these scholarships cover tuition fees and up to $1,000 of eligible education expenses for trainees enrolled in a basic recruitment training program for officers. And so we're making it attractive for people to do that. And when you go into the academy, and you come out, if you're new to law enforcement, you are eligible for this bonus program that we started back in 2022. Because what we saw going on in the rest of the country, I mean, I kind of tell this is like, there's data and anecdotes, and they're not the same. But when you get enough anecdotes and people say the same things and without coordinating, I kind of think, okay. And anytime I travel out of state during those time, people would come up to me in law enforcement and just be like, you know, thank you for what you're doing. You're standing up for us. I wish I could go to Florida. Talk to police chiefs. You know, like all my officers want to move to Florida now, this, that, or the other thing. And so we saw an opportunity strategically, you know, if they're not going to treat you well in Chicago, they're not going to treat you well in New York City, if they're not going to treat you well in some of these areas, you have an opportunity to come to Florida. And we have this bonus program, which serves as a little bit of an enticement because you get a $5,000 bonus check after taxes, too, $5,000 after taxes. So that is a new recruit from within the state because we want to facilitate young people to pursue law enforcement as a vocation if that's what they want to do. But then also the transfers from other jurisdictions coming into a police department, a sheriff's department, or one of our state agencies, they're eligible for this bonus. So it's been really, really successful. And look, it's helpful to get the bonus because obviously with the cost of everything that's happened, it's helpful and it's meaningful. It's not just a de minimis amount. It does matter. But I'd say even more than that. I mean, think about it. You're maybe in one of these jurisdictions, politicians attack you, you don't get support from the community, and then you come to Florida, and what's the first thing you do? You get a $5,000 check, you know, from the governor in the state of Florida. It's like, whoa, this is, and then you're in communities. I mean, I don't even have to talk about Bay County. Obviously, you're supportive, right? But that's really true for almost every place in the state where there's an appreciation for the function that the people of law enforcement perform for them, and a realization that you're not going to have safe communities if you're attacking law enforcement or defunding police or any of that stuff. So I think just from a morale perspective, I think the bonus has been really, really good. And, you know, I haven't talked to everyone that's come under this program, but I've talked to enough. If you've come from other states, morale's better here. Where you're at. It's better in Bay County than it is, you know, in some of these urban police departments where they're being treated poorly. And that's meaningful. People want to know that they've got support. So today, we're here to announce that we've reached yet another milestone in our recruitment bonus program. After today's awards, we will have awarded over 9,400 bonuses throughout this program. That's 5,000 smackers a pop. And in addition to the checks, we're going to hand out some checks today. We also have another 734 more in the mail and that are on their way to LEOs throughout the state of Florida. We've had about 2,000 recruits of that 9,400 come from other jurisdictions outside of the state of Florida. And then the bulk of them, as I mentioned, are the younger people who are getting their first job in law enforcement. So that's a great way to start for them as well. So the total awarded under the program has been about $63 million. We had to fight a little bit with the legislature on this. I think the Senate was supportive. The House's initial budget zeroed this out. And we had to fight to do it. I don't know why we would even have to fight over it. Don't mess with success. Just do it and kind of ride the train. So this was something that I think had universal support amongst our law enforcement agencies and leaders throughout the state of Florida, and I'm glad that it's made it. We knew it would make a difference. We were confident it would make a difference, but still seeing the success of the program, is really, really positive. And I know, look, this program has been part of, changing people's lives for the better, getting people to maybe consider law enforcement where they wouldn't have, or getting people to pick up their lives and move their families to the state of Florida because they know they're going to be treated better. So thanks to everybody that's been involved. I think pretty much every single sheriff's department has leaned in on this, and almost every police department throughout the state of Florida has leaned in on this, and it's been really, really positive. So we're going to hear now from our host sheriff, Tommy Ford, Bay County.
Here, here. Governor, it's an honor to welcome you today to Bay County, and I just want to thank you for always showing up for Bay County. A story that I always tell people when we talk about Governor DeSantis is Hurricane Michael. So in a couple days is the 7-year anniversary of Hurricane Michael, and we all know how devastating that was to not just Bay County but to our area. And what really kind of the statement from the movie, You Had Me at Hello. On his first day in office, Governor DeSantis came to Bay County to support us. He could have gone anywhere else in this state. He could have gone to Miami in front of 10,000 people welcoming him there. And I know you got around to that, but you were here first. And that meant a lot to us. And he's shown up for us ever since. And he's also shown up for law enforcement. He stood shoulder to shoulder with us during some of the most challenging times that I've seen in my 30 years in this profession. The 2019 to 2021 time period, it was pretty scary to be in law enforcement. Not here in Bay County because we've got the support of our community, but if you look at what happened nationally, it was very concerning to see that support that we rely on to do our jobs and do so in very difficult situations just evaporate nationwide. But Governor DeSantis took a different path. It was fashionable then to criticize or defund the police, but Governor DeSantis, our legislature, and our county commission supported us. They honored our profession, defended our deputies, and made it clear that Florida would never abandon the men and women who put on the badge every day. Governor DeSantis' leadership has gone far beyond words. He provided pay raise and recruitment incentives that allowed us to attract new deputies at a time when many agencies around the country were struggling to keep their ranks filled. I did ask him if this was retroactive from 30 years back, but I don't think that's going to fly. So I'm proud to say today that over 40 Bay County deputies have received this recruitment bonus. That's 40 $5,000 checks for deputies that have come to the Bay County Sheriff's Office. That makes a difference, people. That makes a difference in both morale and being able to attract people. And I know every sheriff and police chief that are here, they've had similar success with this program. He went beyond that. He signed laws that protects public safety and made sure that our deputies had the resources and the backing they need to do our jobs effectively. Just as important, maybe even more important, he restored pride to our profession, knowing that our governor has our back, has strengthened morale, reassured our families, and reminded every deputy that the sacrifices they make every day are valued. Governor DeSantis' unwavering commitment has meant safer communities, a stronger law enforcement community, and a clear message that in Florida, we support those who protect and serve. And for that, Governor, I thank you immensely. Thank you.
All right, Sheriff Mike Harrison, Gulf County.
Good morning. And wow, the room filled up quick. So no, just want to, first of all, Governor, thank you so much for what you do for us. As Sheriff Ford stated, you know, just to have our back the way you've got it, it means a lot to us. And looking at these recruitment bonuses and how much an impact they've had on recruiting people in, both new to the profession and from other states, has been enormous. But speaking of 7 of the sheriff's offices that were just mentioned there, 5 of us are fiscally constrained counties. So above and beyond, we just don't have the resources to be able to take care of bonuses like this and to be able to have the higher salaries. But I wanted to speak with my 2 deputies that are here, Deputy Ake, Deputy Higdon, and how they came to the Gulf County Sheriff's Office was through the LEAP program. As he mentioned, it's a state appropriation through the LEAP program, Law Enforcement Apprenticeship Program. And what that allows is for us to recruit someone in. With both cases, with both Deputy Higdon and Deputy Ake here, they had full-time jobs at the time. And for me to tell them, you got to quit your job, pay your way through school, and then I'll consider you, there was no way they could have ever turned their life to a law enforcement career without the LEAP program. This allowed us to select them, send them to, they went to Chipola and went and got their standards up there. We were able to pay them during that time, and it has been incredible. Just this past year, we have done an additional 3 that will start the academy in later this month. But that program within itself has just been enormous for fiscally constrained counties. Also want to talk about the LISA, what we got acronyms for everything, but LISA is the Law Enforcement Salary Assistance that we've got for fiscally constrained counties. And again, that has brought in so much for us to be able to stay on a competitive field with the larger counties and be able to pay a larger salary to our deputies. But Governor, we appreciate you so much for what you do to be able to allow deputies to step forward into this noble profession and to be a part of a career that I've spent 34 years in it now, and wouldn't have chosen another path anyway. That if I could go back and do it, I'd do it again. It's a great career, and I'm just thankful for you to allow us to do what we're doing and having our back along the way.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. You know, a lot of people don't know, we've done, and the sheriff mentioned it, but we've done support for deputy salaries from the state of Florida for fiscally constrained counties. Obviously, we do a lot when we have hurricanes. Knock on wood, we haven't had one yet. I mean, you know, the season's not over. So, and I always told people, you know, when you say, oh, we haven't, the minute you say you're fine, that's when it hits. But we're always watching on that. You know, we don't see anything on the horizon this second. So we'll see. You know, we've got October's important month, so hopefully we can get through that. But you know, we've been able to do a lot, and we're proud of doing that. And it's not. It's just the reality that some of the counties that are a little bit more rural, you know, they don't necessarily have the same economic base. I mean, like, you know, someone like Miami or Palm Beach, I mean, they're rolling in money, right? Now they're spending a lot of that money, which they shouldn't be doing, but the way they're doing it, but they're rolling because they have so much coming, and so it's just different, right? So, so some people say, well, because I'm just like, you know, people are getting pinched on property taxes in this state. You know, they have a home that they bought for $250,000 10 years ago. Now they're being told it's worth $750,000, and they have to pay more in tax every year, even if they don't even raise the millage rate. Just the valuation change is an unrealized gain is pinching people. You have senior citizens that have to sell home because they don't have the ability to keep paying the taxes on the house. You have young people. I mean, it's obviously very expensive across the board on a lot of things. Home prices in particular have gone up dramatically over the last 3 or 4, and that's nationwide. It's not just Florida. Wouldn't it be great if they were able to have relief and not be burdened by that? So we're working. You got to do a ballot initiative, 2026 election, November. We're working through all that. But people said, well, you know, how are you going to be able to do rural? Like they don't have the ability to just, because, you know, Miami, they can just, you know, reduce spending. They can do tourist stuff. I mean, there's a lot that they could do. Like they can't do that. And I said, they don't have to do anything. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I can fund all that. I can take all 32 fiscally constrained counties. I could fund 100% of tax revenue that would be derived from a homestead, Florida residence, property taxes. And it's like budget dust for us. I mean, we got a massive surplus, so we can do that, and we will do that. So don't let anybody in the rural counties act like you're not going to be able to do, because I can just do it without even worrying. I'm not going to let that keep us from doing property tax relief. So if I have to do appropriation, I'm going to support doing an appropriation. I mean, it's just that simple. So we're going to get it done. There's a lot of moving parts. You need to get the legislature to put it on the ballot, which is 2/3. And, you know, we have 2/3 majorities of Republicans. What I would say is, you know, a label is one thing, how you actually act is another. And, you know, there's some people that wear the label, and it's like, I'm trying to think like, wait a minute, like, are you a donkey dressed up in an elephant suit? Like, what's going on here? So it is what it is, right? Maybe not here in Bay County, but in some other part. So we got to do that, and then you need to get 60% of the electorate to ratify that in a general election, which would be the next general election is November 2026. So all that is being worked on, but just don't let anyone tell you in the rural or any of the fiscally constrained that somehow, you know, you're not going to be able to pay police or any of that. Like, no, in fact, we will be able to do, I can do all 32 of those. And I think it's like $270 million. That's for 100%. Of that revenue, you know, from the homestead, which, you know, who knows how that shakes out in year 1 versus year 2. I mean, there may be a phase in, but it's doable. So, we think through all these things, right? I mean, we understand there's different irons in the fire. Okay, last speaker before we hand out our check, we have Bay County Deputy Arnoldi J. Come on up. Where are you at?
Good morning, everyone. As you can hear my accent, they say people hate immigrants. I'm living proof that's a lie. I'm from Jamaica. I've been here 7 years, and I've been with the Bay County Sheriff Office 3 weeks shy of 5 years. I did corrections back in 2019, started. And in the height of COVID in Tripoli, Greg would not let us out. Every school in America was closed, but not that school. He says, "You're first responders. You don't get to go home. You get to be here." I said, okay. I finished. I was a permanent resident at that time. Got a job. November, I started the 2nd. And I've been 2020. And I said, I'm still a permanent resident, but I passed my corrections. I'm just waiting to get my citizenship to step up. And I stayed, and I toiled. The pay wasn't good, but I had a family, and I was comfortable. I was happy. They always got Eisenberger back. I wasn't easy, but they always got my back. And when I went up in 2023, in January, when they called me and said, "Come for your interview," I went in, got it. I called, I said, "Tommy," not this Tommy, HR Tommy, "I'm heading down with my paperwork." He says, "Come on down, Eisenberger, let's get this going." We got it in, and then I became a full-fledged correctional officer. Last year, I said, "Oh, I want to be better. How do I make myself better?" Go to school. I went to my major. He says, "Why do you want to go?" I said, "I want to know more. I want to be better. As long as there's something in law enforcement, I want to learn more." He says, "Okay," and I started. I didn't know about the program. It was never about the money at the time. I went, and the HR person for the school said, "Oh, we can pay half of your tuition." I said, "What? I wasn't expecting this." He said, "Yes, our governor granted it." I said, "Okay, let's do it." We started school, and halfway through, I got a call again. I said, "We're going to take care of all of it, 100%. You're doing so well." I said, "Thank you." And I'm working at the same time. scoring. I've never failed an exam. Came back, exam time. I did my last exam on my birthday, May 6th. Exam on the 19th of May, passed. I will never fail. I'm gonna rise. But I couldn't do it without my sheriff and my major. I will hear stories about immigrants. Oh, they hate. I said, I'm living proof. Don't you see me? I said, no, they don't. They hate criminals. They hate bad people. I've never changed my accent. Once I open my mouth, you're gonna, where are you from? I'm from Jamaica. I met my husband here. We got married. He's ice and I'm fire. It's an unusual match, and I'm telling you, I never expected this. Things happen in life you had no idea that it's gonna happen. God just plans your life for you. Everything just changed. I'm like, what? There he is. He's ice and I'm fire. He knows how to cool me. And with every step I take, I make sure I'm in the right path. I'm doing the right thing. How do I do this? How do I do that? I'm afraid to do this. Is this the right? And that's how I've been living my life. At one point, a coworker of mine said, if not Bay County Jail, where else would you want to go? I've said, I've heard good things about Walton County. I said, if not there, maybe there. That just would be my second option. But this is always going to be my first.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
I do research. I listen. I did security back in Jamaica. Law enforcement is a calling. I breathe it. I sleep. I study. My husband can't take me because I'm always watching murder porn, as he always calls it. The First 48, this, that, all kind of stuff. I'm always watching something. The inmates really can't stand me sometimes. They're like, Ms. Eisenberger, you take your job too serious. I said, I am Eisenberger, and this is me, law enforcement. I close my eyes and I dream about it, so when I come on post and you see me, you know what's coming. It hasn't been easy at times, but prior got me through a lot of stuff. But I'm living proof they don't hate immigrants. I was the only Jamaican there. Now we have 2 more. And just the other day I learned that the youngest one is doing the crossover as well. And I'm so proud. I said, at least somebody's following my footstep at some point. He's 22, he's been here maybe all his life. And then again, I would say, I've got 3 strikes against me. 3 strikes. I'm a woman, I'm black, and I'm an immigrant. But like a phoenix out of an ash, I'm rising and I'm coming. So I've got to be great, the best. I've got to be good. I walk with purpose. I wear my uniform with pride. I never had to put on a different shirt just to go into the supermarket. If I have to, why would I be in this job? If I have to put on a shirt to go walk somewhere because I am afraid somebody will see me and say, she works for this person. No, I am proud. I'm proud of where I work, or who I represent, and wherever I go, I wear this uniform with pride. Anywhere. Thank you very much.
Great job. All right. So we are going to do the checks. So I think, you want to announce the names, and then I'll hand them. So whoever comes, I'll present the check for you, and then we will hope you enjoy.
We've got to do this one first. Arnaldi Barrett Eisenberger.
Congratulations. All right, good job.
Joshua Nelson, Bay County Sheriff's Office. Mason Irons, Lynn Haven Police Department. Stephen McAlleney, Franklin County Sheriff's Office. Zachary Ake, Gulf County Sheriff's Office. Chelsea Higdon, Gulf County Sheriff's Office. Samuel Bryan, Walton County Sheriff's Office. Kelby Drake, Walton County Sheriff's Office. Samuel Helms, Walton County Sheriff's Office. And John Rahiotis, Walton County Sheriff's Office.
All right, good work, guys. Congratulations. Thanks for your service. We appreciate it. So great. So you see, this is meaningful. I think a lot of bright young stars here, and this is happening all over the state of Florida. Okay, do we got any questions before I head out? Yes, sir?
We're in the seventh day of a government shutdown. In terms of our Florida agencies, do you anticipate any of our agencies, including law enforcement, having to pick up any slack if it continues?
Well, so first of all, we're running. Florida's doing what Florida does, and fortunately for us, we've always taken the posture that we're going to take care of our own business. If there's abilities to draw down support from the feds to supplement, we obviously are going to do what's there because Floridians pay federal taxes, but especially under Biden, I didn't expect any support, right? And so we were doing all this stuff. And so I don't know if there's going to be any. I will tell you, because people were asking me about the illegal immigration, are they going to stop helping? Because, we're helping deliver people here illegally to the feds and ICE and DHS. And that's continuing. And they've got a great cadence, and as people come in illegally that are detained and processed, they are removed from Florida very quickly now, and so it's been really, really positive. So that's continuing. I haven't seen any change in any of that, and we're going to keep that mission going. I have mentioned in the past that we are very nimble in how we do this, and so you have the Panhandle. It's hard. It was very hard for them to bring to South Florida for processing. We did do Baker County, which is kind of by Jacksonville, and that's been beneficial. But wouldn't it be good to have a Panhandle thing? So that's happening. So that's underway. There'll be an announcement on that relatively shortly. And so that means Northwest Florida, if you have illegal aliens, they can just be processed right here in Northwest Florida, and then they'll be able to be taken by the feds. So that's going to continue going on. And I will just say this, because I see what's going on in Chicago with the posturing of this governor and this mayor. We were under 4 years of Biden, he opened the border. We were trying to fight back. I sent some of our folks to Texas to help fortify the border. We did major legislation in Florida, some of which the court said, well, you can't do that. That's a federal function. Because we're saying if you come to the state illegally, that's a crime. And we wanted to be able to hold. So there were certain things they said, and that was kind of the rejoinder. Oh, this is federal. You can't interfere. All we were trying to do was help fulfill what the statutes say in U.S. law. So that was their position. Now you have the federal government that's actually enforcing what the laws say, And then the same people that said it's federal, that we shouldn't interfere, they're trying to interfere by trying to sabotage enforcement. In places like they said, oh, don't help anybody with DHS. I mean, you see what some of these groups are doing. They're putting a target on the back of these officers, and they're trying to go to tax against them. And I could tell you in Florida, we have zero tolerance for that. And I don't even need to speak for these sheriffs, because I know if there was some type of plot to target ICE agents in their counties, they would be helping disrupt that. Are you kidding me? You're going to tell people to not do that, to not step up and help, especially when people's lives are at risk, all because of political agenda and ideology and catering, to the very, very far left. And so Chicago's got a lot of problems. You know how I know? Because every time they do something stupid there, more people move here. Honestly, I want them to fix Chicago. We have enough people that have come. But I can tell you, anytime when this mayor got elected, I saw a flood of new people go to Naples and Southwest Florida. And they talk about it. What was the city used to be? Because it used to be one of the great cities anywhere. And what's happened now, there's a lot of reasons, but I'd say the most significant one was just the decline of public safety and the decline of supporting law enforcement, holding criminals accountable. The governor there did a bill to have no cash bail. Well, first of all, how does that protect the public? You have somebody commits a felony. They come in, they get arraigned, and then they just get put right back on the street. Well, guess what? They're going to likely commit more crimes. And you end up with a situation where the public's at greater risk. But then you have these police officers who have to get in dicey situations maybe to apprehend a felon. And then the guy gets put back on the street. They may have to do the same thing again for another crime. So it's like a thankless thing, but that's the types of policies that they pursue. So I think what's happening in some of these jurisdictions around the country to not only turn a blind eye, but at least tacitly approve of what's being done to target ICE, I think is reprehensible. That is not the way you run a city or a state. You need to be upholding the rule of law. And it's interesting. They're mad that ICE is enforcing the law, and you've got some serious problems in Chicago with illegal immigration. I mean, massive gangs, massive drug trafficking, a lot of bad stuff. And so they're mad that ICE is enforcing. But what did they say when illegals were being bused to Chicago under Biden from Texas and these other places? Oh, they were whining about it. They didn't want that to happen. Well, you can't have it both ways. So what's going on, I think, is a big problem there. And I know the spillover effect in terms of everyone has a threshold, right? I mean, you have people, the thing about what I've seen just since I've been governor, particularly from COVID on, is, people just picked up their lives, the family, all this stuff, businesses, I mean, you name it, and just got out of Dodge. And a lot of it is because of the way some of these jurisdictions are governed, particularly with public safety. You can have the best school system in the world. You could have the best business climate, businesses. If people don't feel safe, then all that stuff fades into the background. And it's like, okay, my family's not safe. I can't do this. I got to do something about it. So we'll see. But in terms of what the federal government's doing, we're going to do what we need to do to help the people of Florida. But I will tell you, on the core missions that we're working with them on, such as combating illegal immigration and facilitating the removal of illegal aliens from our communities and from our country, that mission continues, and that mission will continue. And let me just say, this is theater, what these guys are doing in Congress, okay? They do this theater all the time. People like Chuck Schumer, I just think every time he comes to the microphone, support for term limits goes up another 1% or 2. I mean, it's like, come on. Why don't we try something different here? But he's scared of his far left flank, and so he's trying to do this. But I anticipate that it will likely probably drag on for a little longer, then eventually just come in for a landing. And I think most people will say, well, why did you guys even do that to begin with? And so we'll see what happens. All right, thanks, everybody. Have a good one.